They're home for the Texans. They're at they're home for the Chargers. They're at Tennessee. They're home for Denver, who they lost to already, and then they're at the Raiders to end the season. That game's on Christmas, by the way, against the Broncos. At 5-5 for Kansas City, to be a wild card team, you would think they need to win, again, 5 games. What 2 games are they losing? At Dallas and home against Denver, at Dallas, home against Houston. The margin of error for Kansas City is extremely low. I think if they wind up 9-8, they're not making the playoffs. Casey's not making the playoffs. They're going to need to play very well down the stretch, and I'm not so sure KC gets in. The Texans will play tonight. They have a very difficult road. They have a 4.5% chance of winning the division. The Colts have that locked up. They only have a 23.4% chance of making the playoffs, according to ESPN.com. And the reason is their schedule strength is 3rd. This is a brutal schedule. And this is why the Texans should be, if they don't get CJ Stroud back fast, the Texans are in deep trouble. Buffalo this weekend, tonight. We'll get to it with Adam Bjorn here in just 1 second. At Indianapolis, at Kansas City, home for the Cardinals, home for the Raiders, at the Chargers, and home for the Colts to end the season. They're 5-5. They're going to lose tonight in my mind. They're going to be 5-6, and that will pretty much erase them and their chances of making the postseason. Texans, I don't believe, will be in the playoffs. Texans are wiped off. The Chiefs are a coin flip. The Ravens are more than likely, but not a guarantee from a Ravens perspective. And you look at the Buffalo Bills, the Bills' schedule is this. I mean, they play Houston tonight on the road. They play at Pittsburgh. They should win both those games. They play Cincy at home. They play at the Patriots and at the Browns. And then the Eagles go to Buffalo on December the 28th. And the New York Jets are their last game of the year for the Buffalo Bills. They're 7-3. The Bills are making the playoffs. The Bills will be in. It's just a question of, are they a wild card team or do they catch the Patriots? That's a question. Patriots' schedule is a joke, as we've talked about quite a bit on the show. They have a very easy ride. But of the 4 teams that made the postseason, the last 4 remaining teams last year out of the AFC, Chiefs, Ravens, the Texans, and the Bills. Only one, I can confidently tell you, will be in the playoffs. That is a changing of the guard. That is a changing of the conference. And from a TV perspective, it is a nightmare. From a TV perspective, they are not happy about this, okay? They don't know. If you're CBS, if you're ESPN, if you're somebody who has a wild card weekend game, you are not excited about the idea or the likelihood or the possibility of Lamar Jackson not being in, Patrick Mahomes not being in. Even the Texans with CJ Stroud have some heat at times of them not being in, and the Bills being a wild card team and having to go on the road, most likely. That is a different era. That is a different world. And while we have a lot of football left to go, as we sit here today on the 20th of November, the AFC could look very, very different when it comes to a playoff run. I don't know what. Look, JC from KC, resident Chief fan, if you think your team is winning out, tip of the cap to you, buddy. Tip of the cap to you. I don't see it, okay? Maybe you do, but I don't see it, all right? I don't see the Chiefs running the table. Where in the world is he? You guys have been guessing all morning. I think you guys have a pretty good idea as to where he is, but we'll find out. Where in the world's our guy? On a Bet Chris Arizona Thursday, Adam Bjorn joining us here on the Bostonian versus the book. Oh, I know where you are based upon the backdrop. How are you, sir? Where are you these days?
I'm good, man. I had to take a break. I had to come back to Costa Rica and just chill for a few days. I was absolutely worn out. Ended up got a bit of the flu at the moment as well. Felt like crap the last few days. Had a few days in Florida buying and shipping some barrels to Jamaica to try and put a mosquito bite dent into carnage that's going on down there. But yeah, I just decided I needed to take a break, have a few days with the kids, and just get ready for the weekend and have a weekend at home.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this feeling hurt and sick. That stinks. Hopefully you'll feel better down there.
We all play being hurt. Come on now. That's just part of the game.
Absolutely. I saw the backdrop. I was like, I know where you are based upon the whiteboard that's behind you. So, okay, let's talk about tonight a little bit, because the Bills, you just heard me talk about the Bills and their 7-3 record and why I think that they're going to be in the playoffs. They got a big game tonight. They're 0-5 in their last 5 trips down to Houston to take on the Texans. I've seen the number come down from 6.5 to 5.5 here at certain books. Are you guys seeing action on the Texans?
Well, it actually opened shorter because I saw action on Buffalo at 3.5 and 4.5, and then it went up. And there's 56% of the money's on Buffalo, but 81% of the master money's on the Texans at plus 6.5. And I thought I should just have a quick look at the money line as well. Yeah. I mean, based on the odds, we're sort of looking at 68% of the money on Buffalo, which is shorter than expected. And it's fairly well balanced on the master chart. So the pros are thinking that Houston are in with a good chance tonight.
How about Davis Mills getting backed against Josh Allen tonight? That is not something I would have expected, because I thought the number would go the other way. I thought we would get up and it would be the Bills at 6.5 or 7 today. It's gone the other way with the Texans. I'm assuming you guys need the over tonight. Everyone's on the under. Is that fair?
Nope. It's over heavy. We're at 71% on the over, 68% of the master money's on the over. Looking at the money over 43.5, over 43 is the bulk of it, and then the bit of the under 44. But yeah, right now looking for the under.
Oh my. Okay. Well, I'm on the under, so I'm glad that I'm on the book side on that. That is somewhat surprising. These teams, the Bills haven't scored more than 20 points in their last 5 games at the Texans, and this is one of the best defenses in the NFL, obviously, with the Houston Texans. So I'm surprised that we're expecting offense on a Thursday. Maybe it's because what Buffalo did last week, putting 44 points up against the Bucs. So people liking that. Okay. That's surprising. I thought we'd see the other way from a movement perspective. The Steelers and the Bears is one of the more intriguing games of the weekend. Pittsburgh obviously leading the division like we just talked about. The Bears, I guess it's eye of the beholder. Some people think that they're fool's gold. Some people think that Caleb Williams and company, they're tremendous. Bears are favored against the Steelers. It's a short number, though. What are you guys seeing from an action standpoint?
Low volume on this game, but very well balanced. On the Masters chart too, very well balanced. There is action both ways at the -3 and +3. So now that it's sort of sitting 2.5, I expect that it might find its way back to 3. But right now that's a pretty well balanced game.
We're getting close to the time of the year where you have to hold your nose and take a team in Survivor that you don't want to take. How do you feel about the Bears? What's your personal take on Chicago?
So I did bring this up. I do have the Bears available. I don't know about that one. It's a tough week this week. I've been looking through it hard already, and especially to see who I had available. Got through last week, called up straight after this and got the Pats in. Ended up going with the Steelers, which was pretty comfortable in the end on the second pick. And you did make the comment last week when I did say I was looking at the Falcons. You said, no, you can't lose on one team one week and then go against them the next. Thankfully, I dodged those Falcons. But in the end, as the week went on, Steelers felt more comfortable and it ended up pretty easy in the end. So still got 2.
2 of 939. It's pretty good, Adam. You got 2 in an $18 million prize pool. You got 2 entries left, of 939 left going into tonight. The Vikings and the Packers is a game in which I am now no longer touching anything to do with the Vikings because I can't get them right. I thought J.J. McCarthy was going to be good. I thought Kevin O'Connell would fix everything going wrong. It hasn't happened, but the Packers equally are a disaster. I've been fading them for about a month now. Anybody backing the dog in this game? You seeing any Viking money?
Really low volume on this, really well balanced, and the Masters haven't touched it at all. So I think there's a lot of people on board with you there. Just stay away from this game for now. But yeah, it is the lowest bet game of the week. And as I said, there's been no master action at all.
Okay. The next game is my favorite bet of the week. I took it at 3. It's now 3.5 at most places. Colts at the Chiefs. KC can't lose this game to Indianapolis, even Indy off of a bye, right? I mean, this is Indy's 5-5. Mahomes going to lose 3 games in a row?
Possibly, based on now the overall money is well balanced. It's strong betting, well balanced. But the master action was hard and fast on Monday, and it was at +4 and +3.5. So since then, there hasn't been a lot of action on it on the master side of it. But they jumped on that +4, +3.5 pretty quickly.
Wow, this is going to be such an interesting game. Colts are off a bye, so that's big, obviously. But the Chiefs lose this game. They go to 5-6. They then, do you have KC available for Thanksgiving?
I believe I do in one of them. Yeah, I've got them. But I'm looking at Baltimore for Thanksgiving right now. At home to, I think it's the Bengals. I know this week. So I was looking at potentially, I have them available in both. I was thinking maybe one this week, one Thanksgiving, and doing it that way with the Ravens. But
remember, though, Joe Burrow is coming back for the Bengals for that game. So that's not a backup quarterback situation in Cincinnati. That's Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
So it changes everything with that.
Yeah, I know. I was watching that as well. But
changes everything.
For the rest of the games that day, I mean, even the Friday game you can use, and it's not a lot I want to be doing that.
Yeah, we'll get to it in a second. This game has to be heavily bet this week, right? Eagles Cowboys always brings a big handle. Eagles are 3.5-point favorites against a Cowboy defense that looks somewhat competent against the Raiders on Monday night. This game will be heavily bet, right?
Eagles Cowboys is what you said, right? Yes. Yes. Good. Yes. Good. No, good volume. But I actually surprised me when I looked at the numbers. 64% of the money's Dallas. 97% of the master money's Dallas. They took the 4.5, the 4, and the 3.5. It's looking pretty solid at 3 right now. But anything with, more than a field goal, they're all over so far this week.
Yeah, I think if you get 4, I mean 3.5, obviously the numbers come down off of it, but I think Cowboys +4 at home is a good look given what this defense looked like on Monday night, and frankly Dallas can't afford it. Eagles have some breathing room in the division. Dallas has their backs against the wall in a must-win situation. So good game coming up there. And then on Sunday night, we've got another Baker Mayfield dog situation. He's on the road at the Rams. Rams are 6.5-point favorites here. Bucs schedule is getting pretty difficult with these road games for them, but what are you seeing from Bucs Rams on Sunday night?
So 61% of the money's on the Bucs. 88% of the master money they're all over the +7, +6.5. A little bit at the -6 early on, but they're on the Buccaneers.
I like it. I mean, it's Baker as a dog hasn't worked. He didn't cover against the Patriots. He didn't cover against the Bills, and now on the road against the Rams, it's they miss Mike Evans, obviously, but Baker they need that game desperately, and the Rams are having a heck of a season, but maybe it's a little bit of a letdown spot for the Rams after their big win over Seattle. All right, 3 college games.
Speaking of the Patriots, that is the game of the week this week. That is getting bet. There is more money on the Patriots-Bengal game right now than tonight's Thursday night game. It's super well balanced, 2-way action. When the Bengals money comes in, it's 8, 7.5, and 7. Patriots 6.5, 7. It's 53% of the money overall on the Pat, 67% of the master money on the Bengals. But when I was running through this one, ton of volume on this game.
Wow. I thought that number would keep everybody off of it. I was going to ask you about that because it feels like throw up the 8 and be like, okay, guys. That's kind of like a defense mechanism saying you really want the Patriots? Okay, lay the 8. So you're telling me that there's master money on the Patriots? Really?
Yeah, the 6.5 and 7. The bulk of it come in early, the 8, the 7.5, the 7. Once it got to the 7, tickle at the 6.5, going the other way in the 7. But it's obviously done the opposite effect. Everyone thinks that they know the right side at these numbers. If you're on the 8, 7.5, get on the dog. If it's 6.5, 7, get on the favorite. And they're fighting it back and forward.
Yeah, I don't know. Pats win, but maybe by 3. I don't blowing out the Bengals. I don't know. I mean, it is the game before Joe Burrow comes back, though, so maybe. But I think the Pats win the game. I don't. So that's a big number. That was a stop sign for me when I saw it. I was like, oh, that's a heavy 7.5, 8 for the Patriots. I guess 6.5. I could understand a little bit with them winning by 7, but okay. Just quickly on the college games, Missouri,
Yep.
Oklahoma. SEC game. Oklahoma's in the playoff now. They're actually going to host it started today. They're going to host a playoff game. 7.5. Anyone like Missouri, or is this all Boomer Sooner and everyone taking Oklahoma?
So this one was really odd. There's low volume on the game, but it did open 9.5, and there seemed like there was a bunch of ghost moves actually to get it down to 7.5 and 7. And then when it actually hit 7, that's when the Oklahoma money started to pop up. So really low volume, no real intelligent bets behind why it went from 9.5 to 7. But that's what happened, and that's where it's at right now. And they're starting to tickle it back up to 7.5.
All right, so OU -7. The West Coast game of the week is Oregon hosting USC. It's a pretty interesting number for Oregon being a home favorite here. What are you seeing from USC and Oregon?
Good volume on this game. It is one of the bigger bet games. 60% of the money's on Oregon, 68% of the master money. Generally, it's at like -9.5 early on, and then you're getting some buyback at 10.5, 11 on USC. But the early money was on Oregon.
And then finally, this is where game day is going, but BYU on the road against Cincinnati. BYU trying to prove that they're a playoff team, Big 12 championship contender. They're 9-1, and they're only a 2.5-point favorite against Cincinnati. Is this a dog play? Are we seeing money coming in on Cincy?
Muncie, the money's coming on BYU. 68% of the money's on them, 64% of the master money. But anytime the 3 pops up, they quickly jump on the +3 Cincinnati. So this one should hold strong at 2.5 because there was some strong money on the Cincinnati +3.
Very cool. All right, for you, where are we going this week with your 2 survivor picks? How are you leaning at the moment? Because you got a difficult road here because you got to make 3 picks in 2 weeks. This is when the rubber meets the road for Circa Survivor because you got to make a bunch of plays with teams. You've burned all the good teams most often. So now you got to get going with 3 teams, 3 picks in 2 weeks. This week, I think, is the hardest one because you got to get to Thanksgiving. Who are you leaning towards this week?
Yeah, that's as I said, Ravens, I think, is one easy one. I'll spend one of them this week. Likely, again, depending on whether Burrow shows up or what they're looking like next week, spend the other one. Kind of pre-planned, but again, depends on. On the other side of it, I've been going back and forth and really unsure on this. I don't have the Rams available. I do have the 49ers, so I was thinking Monday night. I'm not sure where else. I haven't looked at where else I could potentially use them going forward. So it feels like a safe week this week, but you know how that goes when you feel uncomfortable and think that, these 2 are nice and easy. But yeah, definitely one will get spent on the Ravens, but the other one I'm not 100% sure on right now.
We had a guy on the show yesterday who has an entry as well, and I asked him this question. I want to ask you, do we get to Christmas? There's 939 entries left. Are we going all the way to the end, or do we have this end before Christmas?
So interestingly, I had a different conversation last Saturday night, was how many will make it and how many will split up the end. And I actually thought about 10 to 12 will make it all the way through to 20-0. So
I agree.
I definitely, I think there'll be a split. Maybe if the Jets knock off the Ravens this weekend, it's a different story. But I see it getting, again, a dozen. If I put up a line, it'd be sort of 11.5 over under of how many split the pie. But Christmas Day is getting more challenging. Thanksgiving, again, is a challenging one. But I think there's enough groups that once they get to this, again, Christmas Day, they'll split their entries on, one game, 2 sides.
Okay.
There's little sort of things that I've started to hear on some tactical sides of it. So, yeah, my number on the over-under on how many split the 18 million would be 11.5 right now.
Are you, historically speaking, are you pro-chop or anti-chop in these contests?
So I'm pro-chop just because generally when you're doing it, it means a hell of a lot to somebody in the chop group. I'm not, yes, let's put something to the side and play to the end and an ultimate winner sort of thing. But when you get to a certain point, even if you're talking a couple of 100,000 or something, that can be life-changing to some people that make these entries. So I'm definitely not going to be the lone standout when it comes to any conversation, should I get that far. But yeah, I'm definitely pro, help some people out and leave a pot to the side to all fight to the end as well.
Yeah, I mean, 18 million, you do have some wiggle room when it comes to the strategic
A little bit,
part of it. Yeah, at the end, right? So like if there's 10 people left and there's 18 million, you each take $1 million for your time and then play out for the rest. I think it's a fair way of doing it, right? I mean, that's
100%. Yeah.
So somebody takes down 9 million, but everybody walks away with $1 million on a $1,000 entry. I think that's the fair way to do it. We had someone on the show yesterday who he entered an anytime touchdown survivor contest, and it was down to him and the guy for 75,000, and they could have played it out, but it was a $50 entry and he took home 37.5. Like, it's not life-changing money, but for $50,
for me, I'm not getting it. If the other person says play to the end, I'll play to the end. But if they're saying let's chop, I'm chopping that up.
Absolutely. You take $50 turns into 37,000. You take it and you run. All right. So what are your needs? I know you got to play, look ahead, but what teams do you think you're going to need come Sunday? What are the biggest needs for the book?
Right now, we're definitely looking at going to need the Titans at home against the Seahawks. And the Panthers Monday night, definitely there's a lot of money on that game. It's high on the 49ers. And I think there was one other one.
Jets?
No, Jets game's actually pretty well balanced. The other one was likely the Giants against the Lions was the other one we're looking at right now. But oddly enough, there's 89% of the master money's on the Giants. So that one's right now looking at potentially a day to play where the rec money's on the Lions, the master money's on the Giants, but need a little bit more rec money to make it a lock.
What's your number right now on the Lions?
We're 10.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, 10's a good number for the Giants. You give me plus 10. That's not horrible. And everybody on the over, is that fair?
That one's fairly well balanced. The one game that I did see a ton of money on the over was the Patriots Bengals, where that's sort of the highest bet total game as well, and 82% of the money's on the over, and 67% of the master money's on the over there as well.
Interesting. So everyone's on the over in that game. Patriots at 6.5 and the over. I don't mind the overplay. I could see that against the Patriots, but no Jamar Chase. So that's going to be a significant, obviously, loss there, depending on when you bet it. He did not get that suspension to be overruled. He will be out for that game. Adam, thank you for doing this while you're not feeling great. We appreciate your time. Best of luck this week in Survivor. I hope I'm sending you a congratulatory text message on Sunday.
All right, great. Look forward to next week. Cheers.
That is Adam Bjorn joining us here on the Bostonian versus the book. He in Costa Rica today, joining us as he's been traveling everywhere. And look, you guys have traveled before. You know what that's like. You travel, you get sick, it stinks. It's you got to go and rest up at home and get yourself back on the mend here. How about the Patriots? Like we'll talk a lot about the Patriots in the Bengals game tomorrow, but like that number at 6.5, taking the Patriots, I can see it. Jamar Chase getting the suspension upheld, so he's out. It obviously presents opportunities for T. Higgins and company, and then who is Christian Gonzalez for the Patriots going to go and cover? It's probably going to be T. Higgins. It's a difficult situation, I think, if you are a Patriot fan, because this is an uncomfortable place to be. You're not used to being a 7 or 7.5 point favorite against anybody over the last 5 years, and so now you're playing these cupcakes. You're expected to win. And, well, Mike Vrabel's been asked a million times about the rat poison that was once said by Nick Saban, that the media is providing rat poison to the players. For a football team like the Patriots, which is full of rookie left tackle, rookie running back, second-year wide receiver, like there's a lot of young players on that Patriot roster. How do you keep them away from, the rat poison? Well, I think as luck may have it, you need more guys like Cam Newton who have been out there talking negatively about the Patriots, calling them fool's gold. And so that, I think, helps the Patriots' younger players, because Drake May was asked about it by Fitzy, by our guy yesterday from WEI. His show asked Drake May yesterday about the comments, by Cam Newton, who he adores. Like Drake May adores Cam Newton, looks up to him. He did the whole Superman celebration in honor of him. Like, he's from North Carolina. He played at North Carolina. Like, Cam Newton has a huge place in the development of Drake May. Drake May is 6'4", 220 pounds. Like, he's not as big as Cam Newton, but he has some similar traits to Cam Newton. And yeah, by the way, Cam Newton played quarterback for the Patriots. So that is a very weird thing going on in the space where you're seeing Cam Newton repeatedly rip on the Patriots, and then the Patriot players are being asked, like Drake May, and Drake May said, I don't even know what show he's on. So that got headlines. So I think it's interesting to see this game as the Patriot goes, because they have obviously a very winnable game coming up next week, and then their bye week. So the Giants go to New England next week. Giants on the road, we'll see if Jackson Dart plays, but like it's not, they have issues. Patriots should beat the Giants. Pats against the Bengals. The Patriots obviously are now having to stay focused against a team that is pretty much tanking, but Joe Burrow is on the comeback. And Joe Burrow next Thursday is expected to play against the Ravens on Thanksgiving. TV networks are jumping up and down. Joe Cool is back. That's huge. But I think it is one of those situations where you, from a betting perspective, I'm not so sure I'm laying 6.5 points, even with the Patriots playing as well as they are. 6.5, 7 points, that 8, that's too heavy for me. So the fact that people are betting that game and betting the over as consistently as they are, that is somewhat surprising to me that's happening, that Adam is seeing that type of action. But we'll see what happens come Sunday. Let's talk about what happened last night. So what happened last night, we saw UConn have their 36-game home non-conference win streak get snapped by Arizona, and a really angry coach after the game, ferociously angry about what his team looked like, as Koa Pete continues to be the story, or one of the big stories in college basketball. 71-67 the win. Arizona led at half. That was I bet UConn in the first half. That did not come in. Arizona wins the game. Arizona was 5.5 or 6 point dogs in that game because of what UConn has done this year. And I was smart enough to stay away from that total, or for the game, the full game, because I thought Arizona was live, but I thought UConn also, just given Hurley's record and what he's done at home, 36 straight is 36 straight. But UConn couldn't hit free throws last night. UConn couldn't really rebound last night. And that, my number one takeaway from that game last night, is the ability that Arizona has to rebound the basketball. And not just Pete. I mean, Koa Pete's great, but they got other players. They have a lot of size and a lot of physicality that Tommy Lloyd's team can really make it difficult. And if you can play defense and rebound, you can play on the moon. I don't care what gym you're playing in. If you play defense and you rebound, you can play wherever and whenever you want. So that was a pretty impressive performance. Arizona's resume is awesome. And I mean, you could talk about what Alabama has done, and I think that there's some truth to kind of talk about what Bama has done. But Duke being number 1 on the Ken Pom rankings is surprising. Duke is good. Gonzaga being number 2, I mean, it has a lot to do with what Gonzaga did in their last game against Southern Utah. They won the game 122-50. I told you, after watching them play Creighton, I thought that they were a top 10 team, that Gonzaga is really, really good. They pounded Creighton. They beat up on Arizona State. They then crushed Southern Utah. They play Alabama on Monday. And that game, circle whatever you are doing on Monday. That game is here in Vegas. Alabama Gonzaga is going to be absolutely ridiculous. MGM Grand. It's Monday. The game's at 9:30 Eastern time. I'll already be, no, I'll still be in the air when that game tips. But I land in Boston at 10 p.m. But I'm so bummed out that Gonzaga, Alabama, I'm not going to be here to watch that at the Players Era, because that game is as exciting of a game that we've had so far in college basketball this year, is Gonzaga against Alabama. But I mean, I look at Arizona's resume. I think you can put it up against anybody, and they're 5 on KenPom, but beating defending champs Florida, beating UCLA, beating Connecticut. I mean, right there, that is 3 top 30 wins so far on Ken Palm's rankings. Alabama, Ken Palm doesn't really like Alabama, which is somewhat surprising, but Alabama has won against St. John's on their home floor. They lost to Purdue at home, which was a bad loss for them. And then they beat Illinois last night. They bounced back, went on the road and beat they called it a semi road trip. That game was in Chicago at the United Center. So it was in Illinois, just wasn't on campus for Illinois. But they went there and beat the Illini last night, 90 to 86. So it's been a fun year in college basketball. It's been really topsy-turvy. The problem is it's been really hard to bet, at least for me. Like I've not done well. I'm 2-7 right now for my college basketball bets. The only 2 games I've gotten right are both bets on Creighton. So like I can bet the Jays still. Like I still know how to bet Creighton basketball, but everything else I'm struggling with mightily just because of the topsy-turvy nature of what college basketball has looked like. So it's November. Okay. We got a long year to go. We have a lot of games, but these Thanksgiving games, these non-conference Thanksgiving pre-conference tournaments are going to be epic, are going to be absolutely entirely epic for this. Leg Show. This is an interesting point. Shedeur Sanders making his first start in the worst city possible. You know, he's staying out late. Here's the funny thing that popped yesterday that I actually meant to get the tweet and I forgot to do it before the show today. So I apologize. So I live in a neighborhood that I can throw a baseball almost. It'd have to go over the highway, but I could almost throw a baseball at Red Rock Casino. So Red Rock is where the NFL teams have determined that they can stay in Vegas, but not stay near the Strip. So they stay on a high-end casino, a high-end property. Red Rock is a high-end property. And yet you are still 20 minutes outside of the Strip from Las Vegas. So here we go. Yeah, with my current shoulder, no, I could not. It's a great point, JC from KC. It's a great point. No, I couldn't throw 10 feet right now, let alone, but on a good day. I think it's interesting to look that according to multiple eyewitnesses who went to social media to tweet it out, that both George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb were seen at 7:30 in the morning on Monday morning at the tables. And then outside, one eyewitness said they saw CeeDee Lamb throwing up, puking outside of Red Rock on Monday morning, 12 hours before the game. And that is why both George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb were benched for the first drive against the Raiders because they were out past curfew. Now, again, this is all from social media. This is all from people who have said they saw these guys. But this is sort of the funny thing about Red Rock. Red Rock is an awesome property. Red Rock has tried to become more hip in the last couple of years, and they have more entertainment options and more bars that are staying open all night. Where Red Rock was a locals casino for a long time, they wouldn't do much overnight action because people weren't going to Red Rock to party. Now they're trying to get a younger audience. And so they have different pop-up bars and different restaurants and different bars on property. And you could obviously gamble 24 hours a day, but the bars aren't closing. And so it wasn't a surprise to me to hear that CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens were out at Red Rock, because I've always asked that question of, well, the teams think that they're doing, their team a favor by staying off the Strip, but they're staying on Red Rock. Like they're staying at a property that you can do and basically get whatever you need to do and get on the Strip. You just can't hop around to property. But there's great restaurants. There's a great sushi place. There's a great steak place. There's 4 or 5 really awesome bars. There's a nightclub, like they're not a Vegas style nightclub, like a strip style nightclub, but there are places that stay open and attract a lot of female talent that go there. So like this idea that like you're beating the strip by sending your team to Red Rock. The Cowboys thought they were being smart. I don't know what the Browns are going to think to do this week. I don't know what they're anticipating to do and where to stay. I've always said stay in Pahrump, like just stay there. The problem with staying in Pahrump is that prostitution's legal in Pahrump. So like, good luck. You're going to have a problem. I'll have a lot of issues with that. So, yeah, Dana White had a lot of influence for the streamers and high-profile people who go to Red Rock. Yeah, you know who goes to Red Rock? Our guy Z. That's where Z goes to party in the high limit room. Zayd's. Are we back? Are we back? That was a catastrophic failure. I think we're back. We haven't had one of those. That was a straight up disaster freeze. Apologies for that. That wasn't a frozen. That was a kick out. I got thrown out. That kicked me out. That was a system failure for sports for StreamYard. So sorry, we're back. Anyways, back to what I was saying. I look at what's going on at Red Rock. I don't know where the Browns should stay. Eric is right. Where did that post go for Eric? I did the wrong tab. No, that just they got me. Yes, there it is. Lake Lock, where they stayed for the Super Bowl, is the best place to stay if you're trying to avoid and there are casinos over there. It's not like Lake Las Vegas doesn't have casinos. It does. It just doesn't have the hotels over there are actual hotels. They're not hotel casinos like Red Rock is. Again, Red Rock gives you a bunch of options. It gives you food options. It gives you nightlife. It gives you things to do. Coaches can go party, all the, go have a nice dinner with the family and whatnot. I get the attraction of going to Red Rock, but Lake Las Vegas is where you should go. Like that's on the other side. That is on, there's the Strip, there's Henderson on the right side, if you look at the map, and Summerlin's on the left side. Lake Las Vegas is on the other side of Henderson. It's far. Okay. It's to get to Allegiant Stadium from Lake Las Vegas is almost an hour drive. It's far, but that's where I would stay. Like if I was picking, that's where I would go. I would want to go nowhere near. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out, where it goes. But I think the Browns coming to Vegas and Shedeur Sanders getting his first career start and having the team in Vegas, yes, I would be concerned with that 100%. And I like the Browns this week at +4. But I could 100% say there should be a concern. Like you should definitely be worried about what's going on if you are looking at this Browns team and a player like Shedeur who tends to want the spotlight. Hopefully they're staying far away from the Strip, but I actually don't know where the Browns. I live really close to Red Rock. I've seen at least 3 teams this season stay at Red Rock. So I think that's become like the place to stay. I don't know if the Fertittas have done deals with teams to get them to come in and stay, but I've seen a lot of police and bus escorts going from Red Rock down the highway, going to Allegiant Stadium this season, more than normal. So my gut would tell me the Browns are staying at Red Rock, but given what just happened with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, maybe not. Maybe not. Let's make some bets. Just the Picks is being brought to you by the Betting Pros Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. It is live for tonight. If you guys want to check out what they have available for the prop bets, NFL Prop Bet Cheat Sheet shows you the best value plays every day. You get daily prop projections and daily bet value rankings based on those projections. Find the best props for all major passing, rushing, and receiving categories for tonight's game. Use it now at bettingpros.com/props or go download the Betting Pros app and you can use it on there as well. For tonight, I am going to go against the money, and I'm going to go against the thought here that this is going to be a win for the Texans. I can't back Davis Mills. I'm coming in here with the Bills. I'm going to tease it from 6 down to a pick. It's 5.5 now, but I got 6 last night. And then I'm going up from 43.5 to 49.5, and I'm going under. As I said, the Bills haven't scored more than 20 points in their last 5 games up against the Texans, and this might be the best Texans defense that they've faced. Josh Allen, historically speaking, up against very good defenses, has an extremely successful record. He just doesn't score a lot. Against this team, though, they're 0-5 over their last 5 trips to Houston, 2 of which were quarterbacked by Josh Allen. I think they get a win. I think they have to get a win. The Bills lose this game. They go to 7-4. If the Patriots beat the Bengals, and they're 7-point favorites, 7.5-point favorites to beat the Bengals. If the Pats do that, the Pats are 10-2. The Bills are 7-4, and they have the head-to-head loss to the Patriots. It would basically mean the division could get wrapped up after the Patriots have a bye and play the Bills right afterwards. So the Patriots could go to 10-2. They beat the Giants. They go to 11-2. They have the bye, and then they play a 4-loss Bills team. And the Patriots win that game. The Patriots could, it's possible, depending on what the Bills do, it would be possible for the Patriots to at least clinch a tie for the division. So huge game for Buffalo. Huge game for the Texans, obviously. And the Texans D is nasty. There's no debating that. That's why I like the under. 43, tease it up to 49.5. I just think there's going to be, to me, I just think a W is needed for Buffalo here tonight. Bills, pick them under 49.5. The other bet is to just keep on hammering the overs for Vancouver and Dallas. Vancouver is 8-1 to the over at home. They have gone over in their last 10 games. They are just behind the Maple Leafs for the best over record in hockey. But the difference is the Maple Leafs' last 2 games for Toronto have gone under. So they're actually kind of coming back here and seeing where we're going to go. The over 6 in this game, I think, is an auto fire, even with Dallas, just to go ahead and take the over. And I think when you play the style of hockey that Vancouver is playing, it's wide open. It's tons of goals. What's weird, Vancouver is the number 1 team for goals allowed and goals scored in the third period. Normally, like with Toronto or other teams, Anaheim, teams that are scoring a lot, they score a lot in the first period. Like last night, Boston and Anaheim was 2-1 after the first period. First period over, flew. That's not happening with Vancouver. Vancouver is actually a first period under team, a second period middle of the road team, and then all the goals are coming in the third period. Like it's a different type of game for them for whatever reason. So like when you're watching the game, if you don't want to bet the pre-flop, if the first period is 0-0 or 1-0, you're going to get a good live number. And I would go ahead and bet the over. Like if you can get a 4.5 for this game, say it's 2-1 going into the third period and 4.5 number or even a 5.5 number, I think you'd be safe going ahead and betting the over, just given the way Vancouver plays and how much offense and defense, for that matter, how they play in the third period. But pre-flop Vancouver over 6, I think is a good way of approaching it, or wait and see if it's a slow start in the first period and then coming in and betting the over. There is a prop bet tonight that I do like for the for the Texans, and it takes on a receiver. Where is that? There it is. All right. I like, for a BBB prop bet of the day, We hit it yesterday with Creighton, so we hit that yesterday. Let's see if we can do it again. Christian Kirk over 1.5 receptions. It shouldn't be too expensive. It was minus 108 last night. And prop bet cheat sheet likes this. It's a 5-star play on the prop bet cheat sheet. Christian Kirk has been targeted 4 times and 3 times the last 2 games by Davis Mills. But given the way that the running game has struggled for the Bills defense to stop the run, Christian Kirk could be a nice bubble screen and slant option where it's play action and then you hit Kirk coming over the middle on a slant. So I think this could be a pretty easy pickup here with him being targeted as much as he was targeted. When it was CJ Stroud, Christian Kirk got targeted a ton. But since it's been Davis Mills, it's been a different type of offense. But tonight we'll go Christian Kirk. We'll go over 1.5 receptions for Christian Kirk here. It shouldn't be too expensive. Minus 108. Oh, did he just have a dad? Shakur's had a dad. I love that angle. Bet the dad strength, new dad. That happened. Ryan Kalkbrenner of the Creighton Blue Jays, formerly, in his first game after becoming a father for the Charlotte Hornets, had like 24 points and 8 blocks. Had a complete career game going in. So I'm down with that. Nico over his receptions. Yeah, Nico Collins over his receptions. I don't mind that either. Davis Mills has not been bad. Okay, he came back and beat Jacksonville. They lost last week and didn't really do much offensively, but that, you can kind of explain that a little bit coming up on as to how poor the offense was facing a better defense. Now you're going up against a Bills team. You know that this is a run the rock and play defense game for the Texans. It fits the narrative. Now it could turn wide open based upon turnovers and special teams and whatnot. But generally speaking, Texans at home, Texans defense, Texans trying to run the football, and against the Bills defense that has not stopped the run all year. It's a good opportunity for the Texans, I think, to play ball control and then ride their defense. Thus, it leans towards the under. I do think that we're going to see a better offensive performance for Buffalo. 44 points, no, but I do think that they'll score more than 20 points. They haven't scored 20 points in their last 5 games in Houston, and they've lost them all. So big night tonight for that offense for the Buffalo Bills against a very good defense. If you are watching this show on replay, do not move. Sorry, watch the show live. Do not move. If you're on replay, thank you for being here. Thank you to Adam Bjorn in BetChris Arizona for sponsoring every Thursday. We're back tomorrow with a Fight Song Friday. If you guys are live, don't move. Bonus time now. Okay. And let's see. Where else did I want to go with this for tonight? Yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty fun game. I do. It's going to be a defensive battle, but I do think it's going to be a pretty fun game to watch. I'm surprised the money's coming in as heavily. I mean, it's dog and under, so I get the idea, but it's been over and the dog. They're taking the points and they're betting the over. 43.5 is pretty low. I will say that, but I still think the under is the play coming up on that. JJ McCarthy, did he just become a dad? Did he really? I didn't know that. I don't know. You need a lot with JJ. JJ, he needs help. He needs help. It's just looking. You're eyeballing the college game? Oh boy. There's one game in college tonight. Arkansas State against who, right? I forget. Hold on. Let me look at the schedule. I glanced at it last night. Yeah. It's Louisiana against Arkansas State. It's the Fun Belt. You're betting the Fun Belt. Did I look at Ottawa road gift stats? No, I did not look at Ottawa road gift stats. What are we at? Are we at an auto? Thursdays are great games. Thursdays are great days to bet hockey. Oh, it's against Anaheim too. Back to back for Anaheim. But all right, let's look at that. I appreciate the heads up, Addison. So Ottawa gift is 68%. 8 of the last 10. There's been a gift for Ottawa. On the road, I have not looked at the road stats, but Ottawa is 11-1 over their last 12 games to a gift. So they're on the road. Anaheim Is first period over? No, Anaheim's numbers. This was my fear the last time. They're 13 and 20, 65% of the time to a first period over. Anaheim is 14 of 20, 70%, 7 of their last 10 to a gift. So yeah, I think that's a really good play. I mean, there's no guarantee it's going to hit, but I like it. I like that. Ottawa, Anaheim, goal in the first 10 minutes. The Stanley Cup winner is the Mighty Ducks. Maybe. I mean, I'm not going to push back too hard on that, given the way they've started. Anaheim beat the Bruins last night. They're 13-6-1 on the year. They have 27 points. They're tied for second in the West, only behind Colorado, who has been red hot for the last 2 weeks for the Avalanche, who are 13-1-5 on the year for 31 points, only one loss in regulation so far for Colorado. 8-0-2 over their last 10 games and 6 straight outright victories for Colorado. So the Avalanche off to a tremendous start. Ducks off to a tremendous start. The Bruins, look, they're 12-10-0 for 24 points for the Bruins. That's right where I thought they would be. I mean, I like the Bruins to be over 500. I like the Celtics to be over 500. So, I didn't know that. Like, so JJ McCarthy became a dad, and then later in the week got trampled by the Falcons. Okay. Not good for JJ. JJ's having a tough run. He's having a tough run of it. I saved this topic from yesterday because we were running long, so we can get to it now for news of the industry. So, news of the industry. The CEO of Polymarket appeared on an Axios Big FD platform. They had this conference about basically the big things happening in the world. Axios is, an all-everything news site. And so the CEO decided that he was going to, wrong slide. Sorry, that's the slide I'm after. The CEO called sportsbooks during this interview a scam. He went on to say the duopoly between FanDuel and DraftKings, that it is anti-consumer, that the customers are at a massive disadvantage, and that basically sportsbooks are not fair. And, there are some things that I would agree with and some things I would not agree with from these comments. The one thing I don't like, the one thing that I think is a pretty big mistake from really anybody in the prediction market game, is that if you're going to go full prediction market and you're going to come at this and you're going to be, really excited about prediction markets, I would not do it at the detriment of sports gambling. I would not go to war with sports gambling. And there's a couple reasons why. First of which, you use the word scam in today's culture, in today's environment, and I think you're going to war. I think it's a fighting word. It's there's no coming back from it. So what exactly is the scam? If you're calling it a scam, like, what exactly is a scam? Because I know the price. I know the price. I don't know what you're going to do with the data, Polymarket, and I don't know what cut you're going to take eventually from the overall prediction market. So there is no house from a prediction market standpoint, but I don't know how much of a VIG are you going to take. And a VIG by a different name is still a VIG. So I'm still paying for the right to go and use the service. That's the cut you're taking. Sportsbooks are doing the same thing. You're being charged a VIG based upon the ability to place the bet. Rigged is the other word you'll hear. He didn't say the word rigged. He didn't say sports gambling is rigged, but calling it a scam, those words can be a little bit interchangeable in most people's minds, and I think that's a very big mistake. I don't know what the future of any type of prediction market is going to be. Fanatics today announced that they're going to launch prediction markets with crypto.com. So Fanatics is getting involved. FanDuel and DraftKings, we talked about it earlier this week. FanDuel and DraftKings decided that they are not going to apply for a license in Nevada, and they have split from the American Gaming Association, which is pretty much funded by MGM Properties. And the American Gaming Association and MGM and Caesars, they are strictly and very starkly anti-prediction markets. So there's a split with what the AGA is going to stand for. So FanDuel DraftKings has broken away. Polymarket has seen, and they made this announcement today, they have dramatically widened the scope of its testing as the CFTC finally published the self-certification filings that appeared to the holding up the exchange's U.S. launch, which could happen as early as next week for Polymarket. The CFTC's stance was that self-certification were stayed, therefore would not be valid. While Polymarket's rules were approved, it had yet to receive exemption to certain reporting requirements. Polymarket still needs to self-certify contracts before it could offer them to the general public. But Polymarket's launch has been held up by a lapse in the government's appropriations. By Monday, after the government shutdown ended, the CFTC had published Polymarket's self-certifications alongside a range of other from exchanges like Kalshi and Crypto.com. The Polymarket submissions were dated September 30th, the day they were sent, because the filings were backdated. It's not exactly clear when they've been processed by the CFTC. So Polymarket is going to be live very soon in America, which will go, they will go right at Kalshi. Like that will be a gigantic deal. There's going to be a massive, massive ad blitz coming for prediction markets. Okay. I think everybody has to realize that, and I've said this before, over half of all Americans live in states in which sports gambling is illegal. Overnight, if these prediction markets become competitive, and I think they're going to be competitive with each other, the way they're going to differentiate from each other is through marketing. And so Polymarket is bringing global markets with them, not just America, global markets you can bet into. Kalshi's already there with Robinhood. Crypto.com is equally there. And we haven't even talked about FanDuel and DraftKings yet. You're going to offer this in California, Texas, and Florida. And the amount of national advertising that's about to hit us who watch football in the playoffs is going to be incredible. As I said a couple of days ago, my opinion on the way that Kalshi has behaved is different than my opinion on the prediction marketplace as a whole. Because again, I'm going to listen to people who are smarter than me, like Alex Kane, who have been pretty adamant about what a prediction marketplace can look like in America, in particular for states that have massive backlogs and a lot of red tape to get through in order to legalize sports gambling, i.e. California, Florida, and Texas, where you have huge population centers that then will be able to access sports gambling light, if you want to call that from prediction market. It is sports gambling. It is a type of sports betting. My problem has always been if you say we're not sports betting and yet you advertise into those states as sports betting and you say, come bet with us. That's my problem with the prediction marketplace companies, not prediction marketplaces as a whole. Because again, I'm not smart enough to know everything that's going on in the language. I just know that the CFTC has been run in a very suspicious way with how they have put up different people from Kalshi to be the head of the CFTC. And there is a guy who is going through the process. He was on Capitol Hill yesterday being questioned by lawmakers about his role as to what he would do with sport prediction marketplaces. And for the most part, he deferred to the courts every time. He said, I'm listening to the courts. I'm listening to the courts. So I'm not opposed to doing business with prediction marketplace. I'm not taking Kalshi money. That's just they tried to offer me money. I'm not taking Kalshi money. But I feel like there's going to be a lot of these companies who are coming on board who are going to want to try to tell their story. And I'm not opposed to one of those companies coming in trying to tell their story here to explain what processes they've gone through and why prediction marketplaces. And frankly, I hope that we see other sports books have conversations, sport trade, namely, have conversations about what it means to be available in different states, what it means to be available in California, what it means to be available in Texas. Okay. I'm curious to see how Alex Kane and his theories, how they play out with it saying prediction market is better for the consumer. Okay. If that's true, there has to be some pitfalls that make it a little bit more dangerous and difficult, right? So, because prediction markets are going to be available in states in which sports gambling is not legal. So, what is the differentiator? What is the look that we're all going to see if we who live in California, Texas, or Florida, you open it up and you're like, okay, I want to bet tonight on the Buffalo Bills. I'm doing a prediction market that is 1 day. The market's open for 1 day. Okay. It looks like a duck. It talks like a duck. This is a duck. This is sports gambling, but we're just going to call it by another name. And we're calling it prediction markets. As long as we're all telling the truth about what we're doing, I don't have a problem with prediction markets. I really don't. It's gambling. I'm good with it. My problem stems from anybody trying to claim that it's not sports betting. And thus the legalese and the lawyer speak that comes back in relationship to that is why it should be only governed by the CFTC. Well, okay, we're just arguing semantics. Okay. I don't need you to, put yourself in legal jeopardy, but I do need honesty. I do need people to talk about it openly. And FanDuel and DraftKings have now changed their tune entirely. DraftKings and FanDuel both told California that they were not going to offer a prediction marketplace in their state. And then last week, they all announced that they're going to offer prediction marketplaces in California. So, like, FanDuel and DraftKings are going the complete 180 on this. And so I think if you're the tribes in California, you're obviously furious at what's going on because there's, not to get really inside school on this, but like part of the language around the CFTC for the Commodities Exchange Act, the CEA, right? That legalized prediction markets. Part of it says that you don't geo-target anyone, that in order for you to offer a prediction market, everyone has to have access to it across the country. So it would be a violation of the CEA, the Commodities Exchange Act, if the states that have tribal gaming, Florida, California, if you then said, well, we're going to geo-target and not allow anybody who is living or visiting the reservations, they will not have access to Kalshi, to crypto, to FanDuel, DraftKings, FanDuel prediction, they're calling it, right? That they won't have access to that because we'll geo-target them out. That is in direct violation of the Commodities Exchange Act. So that's the problem, that what's being fought legality-wise in California is you can't do what these prediction marketplace companies are saying they're going to do to avoid the other piece of legislation, which is and I'm not, the acronym's too long, but essentially the pact signed between the tribes in America about them being able to be a sovereign operation aside from America when it comes to all gaming is run by the tribes on their land. That they have full access to run whatever they want, whatever casino, whatever bar, whatever they want, they can control it on the reservation, and the government can't tell them what to do. So that's the problem. Okay? That's the problem. It's okay. It's just peer-to-peer with a backdoor platform. Les, I'm not smart enough to know whether you're right or wrong. I don't know. I'm not sure. You look like a recruit too. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. I haven't seen your handle before. I don't know. I just think this war between prediction marketplaces and sports gambling, we need these court cases to be wrapped up. We need somebody to finally rule, because I feel like we're going to be in this. And this is why DraftKings and FanDuel have determined to go complete and totally at it, because they think it's going to be in the court case. The court's going to be tied up for years, that this is ultimately going to go to the Supreme Court. And that probably takes in 26, 27, 28. It's going to be a long time before we get this case up to the Supreme Court. And since courts at lower levels have not wanted to issue injunctions against certain companies operating in the state, Crypto.com got it with Nevada. Nevada probably is going to do the same thing next week with Kalshi. So you're going to see Nevada, which would be the one state you would think would be really pissed off about anybody operating outside of gaming in the gaming license process. So I get why Nevada would do it, but they don't care. I mean, Nevada's population is, 4 million people, 3.1, right? Like it doesn't matter. It's not a worry. The population base isn't big enough. They want California, Texas, and Florida. They honestly don't care about anything else. Okay. They honestly don't care about anything else. They care about those 3 states. And if Polymarket and Kalshi, and if they're allowed to operate in California, Florida, and Texas, New York too, for that matter, but that's all you really need. Those are populations bigger than most countries around the globe. So they're good. They're good. They can become billionaires by just operating in those 4 states. So again, I'm not anti-prediction market. I am anybody who is going to advertise themselves as not sports betting, because it is sports betting and they are circumventing the rules. I'm not against circumventing the rules if it benefits the consumer. And according to folks smarter than me, it benefits the consumer. Does it? I don't know. I mean, again, I've asked Alex Kane to come on, and Alex wants the court cases to slow down because he doesn't want to say something that then is going to be completely turned on its head by a judge. So he wants to see it kind of settle out a bit. But I am very curious to see what Sport Trade is going to do, and whether they pivot fully into a prediction marketplace, which is kind of what they thought they were always going to do at Sport Trade. They were always going to pivot into become a full-time prediction marketplace. So, I'll be curious. I'm not anti, okay? I'm not anti-prediction market, but I am anti one company. I'll admit it. I am not pro Kalshi by any means. I don't like what Kalshi did. Don't like how they did it, when they did it, and where they did it. Okay. But everyone else following the trail that they blazed, I don't think that's at this point a mistake. Given what we are seeing across the country, it's like, the sports betting industry is going to have to make a decision. Either we join up and we understand what they're doing, and we all have to learn more about prediction marketplaces, and I have to become an expert in prediction markets because you guys, the audience, you guys are going to be using it and you guys are going to be betting it, and the exchanges are going to start to pop up on odd screens, and we're going to start to see numbers, and these are going to start to influence the games. Because if the biggest prediction marketplace is, say, I don't know, let's say it's Kalshi just for now. If it's Kalshi and they have a different number than the world, right? If every sports book's at 4 and Kalshi's at 3, that changes things. That changes things. So we have to come and take a look at it. Ish says, when I checked it out, I hated the interface, so I'll stick with my betting apps. I've never used it. I've never seen it. I've never used it. I am very ignorant to what a prediction marketplace looks like from an interface, from an AI perspective, from a UX perspective. I don't know, but I think I'm going to have to, because there's going to be a lot of marketing dollars being spent very soon. And it's going to be national. It's going to be on NFL. It's going to be on NBA. The DFS wars, the pockets are so deep. I mean, Underdog, Prize Picks, Robinhood, Crypto, Fanatics, FanDuel, DraftKings, Something called Gemini is going to be on board and coming in here. So, you know, the advertising that we saw for sports betting and the advertising we saw for DFS is probably going to be a drop in the bucket compared to what we're going to see from the prediction marketplace. Again, it's 40 million California, 38 million Texas. I think Florida's 30 million people. Those three states are over 100 million people combined. There's going to be a lot of marketing going on. There's going to be a lot of marketing going on for sure coming up on this. Time for favorite thing about today. Favorite thing about today. I'm not going to mention this as to who this person is, but I got an email this morning from somebody who just lost their dad. And this person said that the show was something that towards the end of his dad's life, they would put the show on and they would talk about what was going on. And this is recently, like that. I know Dave and I have told stories about this. This happened recently in the last 2 months. And the headline for the email was "Keep doing the show." And I can't explain to you guys how meaningful that moment between you and a father, you and your dad, and what the show could do and could mean, but what it means to hear you guys every once in a while, like just say, hey, like keep the show going. Because one of the hardest parts of all of this, one of the hardest things for me going through this is I've done shows by myself before, and I have felt very much how I used to feel when I was doing radio by myself, that there's no checks and balances. Like Dave and I worked so well together because there was checks and balances. He complimented what I did well and vice versa. And so now when I'm by myself, I don't really have a great gauge of like, I know when something was great and worked and works really well when it was Dave and I. Like I knew the segment took off or I felt it. It's much more difficult when you're so locked into this as I'm doing it and I'm by myself and I'm sort of going through all of these different emotions while I'm producing the show and doing the show and selling the show. And, you know, it's all on me. And my time is like, I have to be so regimented right now, time wise, because otherwise it gets away from me. Like if I'm not prepping by 8 a.m. every morning, I'm never done in time. By 10 o'clock, I'm not done. And there have been some days where I've been distracted or had something come up and I've been completely like a mess trying to get ready for the show. And so like I'm a duck on, trying. And so it means a ton when you guys do reach out and say, hey, a reminder, keep doing the show, because that's fuel for me to go, okay, like we're different. We've changed, but we're still rolling. There's still positive momentum. And 2026 is going to be such a big year for sports. And I love that Adam Bjorn brought that up a couple of days ago, or I guess it was last week. He brought it up because I have thought that now for a couple of months, but I didn't know if other people thought that as well, laying out the sports year of 2026 and just how big of a year it's going to be in the sports world. And it's because of the Olympics and it's because of the World Cup being in America and the fact, or in North America, because we're going to have, I think it's 75 games to be played. Scotland, which I now am like a resident person. I'm a little Scottish, but after going to Scotland this summer, Scotland qualified for the World Cup. So I can't wait to see where they get sent, because I would love to go watch Scotland play in the World Cup. Like that's my de facto team, because, well, America's not going to do anything like we know. So now I'm going to cheer for Scotland. Like, I'm bullish on 26. I'm excited for 26. I think we're going to have a big year in 26. I can't wait to see what we can do in 26, but I'm by myself. And so when you guys say that the show still means a lot and the show works for you and the show is here for you, it keeps Dave alive for me. It keeps the dream, the conversations that we would have, and the dream for what BVB could be and the growth that we think BVB could have. So like that's huge. Then going to Corbin and like laying out and picking out and designing the store without Dave was awkward and tough. And, you know, we're trying to honor somebody's wishes and trying to honor someone's tastes when that person's not here. It's not easy to do. So Corbin's designing these shirts and these hats, and we're going back and forth and we're comparing different designs and styles and shirt types and hat designs and everything else. And that hopefully, like I said at the top of the show, hopefully to have that at some point before Black Friday and up and live by Cyber Monday. So we're going through all these different things. So long story short, thank you for the person who emailed me this morning. Thank you for the kind words. And then thank you for you guys for being here, because it does mean a ton. It does mean a lot to me to do this, to know that you guys still want me to keep going, because that's huge. Yeah, Penny, my wife's going to be so mad when she sees how much money I blow in the BBB store. It's going to be fun. Oh, Corbin, there you are, my friend. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you being here. Designs are great. Corbin's doing, when the store goes live, it's going to be awesome. So thank you to Corbin for doing that. Really appreciate you guys being here. Thanks to Betcris Arizona and Adam Bjorn for stopping on by. Enjoy Thursday Night Football tonight. We'll recap it all coming up tomorrow on the show on a Fight Song Friday. A lot of big college games to get into. Newbie joins the show tomorrow for anything and anything that he wants to talk about. Thank you for being here. Talk to you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, for a Fight Song Friday. BVB.